Alright guys, you see what's going on with the microwave. The unit is a GE profile. Now, once the cover here that holds the main board was removed, you can see basically all the screws are snapped off from the plastic housing or the plastic tabs. The reason for that, it's a gas stove, as you can see, and you have a lot of heat. So a lot of times over time, actually, the plastic becomes very, very brittle. So you got to be super careful with that. Nothing I could have done. All I did was open it up, and basically the thing just came apart. So you can see it. So as you can see on the microwave now, we're going to be checking the switches, the door switches, and I'm starting at the top. Normally you'd go from the bottom up, but it doesn't really matter where. So we're going to check for continuity. Beautiful. That's your secondary door switch. Now we're going to be checking the monitor. The monitor switch monitors the door position, whether it's open or closed. That's a bad switch. Now we're going to be checking the primary. Excellent. Now guys, one of the best ways you can check your door switches, if you're able to use the door as you close the door, it activates and deactivates whatever switch does not need to be activated. So what I'm saying is, if you're able to connect your meter leads to the switches and then close the door, you should get your signal, or when you unlock the door, you should get your signal, and when the door is closed, vice versa. So now that assembly right there, you can replace the entire piece. Sometimes I do that. I did not have it, so what I ended up doing was just replacing the micro switch, which is totally fine. A lot of times while you're there, you can just replace the entire assembly, because that one switch, chances are the other one's going to be failing soon. So I do recommend replacing the entire piece. Call it a day. As you can see, that switch was bad. Here's a good working switch, and here's a bad one. Now, the unit was so frozen, or I should say melted together, the switch. Sometimes you can actually get a tiny flat blade screwdriver. So we're putting in a new switch. Like I was saying, sometimes you can get a tiny flat blade screwdriver just to help you out and separate the contact points on this switch, and maybe get a small nail file or sandpaper and clean the points, and chances are the switch might still be okay. If not, you'll just have to replace the switch. But you'll notice that when you press start on the microwave, when you have a bad monitor switch, the breaker will trip. That basically protects the microwave from working with the door open. Now those screws right there, sometimes they're Phillips and sometimes they're Torx. So it just depends. You'll have to verify that and check your model number so you're able to get the proper switch for your unit. That's a good switch, and that's a bad one. You can see it's not even moving. So here we're going to be checking the relay on the board. Basically activating, making sure that relay is working. While I'm there, I like to check everything. I did have to use some tape to secure the board back to the housing. I already told the customer about it, so. Alright guys, we're pretty much done. Just make sure you get your trim back on and put your screw in. And you can see we're heating and, well, getting ready to heat, so all is well.
Oh yeah, she's hot.
A little bit more. Now you see I was doing the test on the microwave, but a lot of times with space, it's very hard to kind of see exactly what I'm doing. So not all, but pretty much most of the microwave's going to have a switch kind of like this. And you see where it was located. It goes into the side of the machine. But nonetheless, you do have two screws you have to remove. And it's best to actually remove it so you can remove any switches. Again, if you're going to change each of these, you can. And you can also remove each switches from here and replace them. You don't have to change this entire piece. Sometimes it comes that way, and you could just do that. Now, to change the switch, if you do need to remove a switch, you do have a tab. And all you're going to do, you're going to push the tab slightly, and you can just pull it out. It's that simple. And of course, the same way when you put it back in. You don't have to push the tab, but you can if you want, just so you don't put any pressure on it. Locks in. All right, so when I was testing the switches, I like to use the door as its own activator. It's more accurate. Reason for that, when you manually push these switches, the switch might test good, but when the door strike hits it, it doesn't fully activate it. But when you push it with your finger, it actually activates because it's pushing it closer together. So that would either mean this portion could be worn out, or the screws might need to be tightened because it's shifting or it's moving, or the lever that pushes down on those might actually be wearing out. So, all right, so you could start at the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter where. Just pay attention to your wire connections. And our bottom switch is our primary. And keep in mind, these two work in tandem. So you check these the same way, and they should give you the same test result. So we've got our meter, and we're looking for continuity when the door is closed. When the door is open, like right now the door is open, you should not get a reading. Now we're going to close the door, which is going to activate this switch. Now this switch is working, and that's good. We're not going to do this one yet. Now let's go up top. Of course, the door is still open. And again, we're going to close the door by pressing. So he's good, and he's good. If you notice, they're both working in the same fashion. Now, this guy's your monitor switch. What he does, he basically lets the computer know that it's safe to start. When he's on all the time, meaning if you close the door and he's still on, that means he's bad. So when the door is open, you should have continuity. Okay. So if you close the door now and nothing changes, he would trip the breaker, 100%. When you close the door, he turns off, telling the board, safe, you can turn the microwave on, microwave will run. All right, so we're gonna release the switch. He's back on. All right, hopefully that helps a little bit in getting your microwave diagnosed properly. Thanks for watching.